Martin Beaumont has been to meet someone who is wise beyond his years when it comes to collecting.
An ordinary town on an ordinary day in these great British Isles. An ordinary student returns from buying his ordinary newspaper at the ordinary shop. Except, is this ordinary student quite so ordinary? You'll tell me if I'm saying ordinary too much, won't you? Ben Sansom walks through his ordinary garden to what appears to be an ordinary garden shed. What is it? Because when ordinary Ben Sansom enters his shed, he takes an extraordinary step back in time to the days of the home guard, air raid wardens, and the Blitz. Ben likes nothing better than dressing up in 1940s clothes, reading his 1940s newspapers, and listening to 1940s records. Ben, this is an incredible collection. You're only 21, aren't you? What possessed you to start collecting 40s stuff?
Well, as far as I can remember back, I've always liked this period, really. It's just always fascinated me, really, the different sort of things that people went through, their hardships and stuff. It really was quite an exciting time as well, I think. It was such a lot going on. It was a big time of change, and people helped each other, and the war sort of changed things. It broke down class barriers and stuff. And I think it's nice for older people to show that young people don't forget about what happened to them.
So what came first, your shed or your collection?
Really the shed. I got the wireless first and a couple of other bits, but the shed was the first thing. Just came from Northern Garden Centre, brought it home, and bit by bit I've sort of pieced it together. But towards the end I got more and more picky with detail, like everything's sort of right now down to the wallpaper, light switches, everything.
Because a lot of people really are interested in the military side of the whole thing. I mean, that doesn't fascinate you too much.
No, a lot of people assume just because it's the war that it's that sort of thing I like, but it's not really. It's the home front, and that is quite different, really. It's what the women back home went through more, and the sort of families that were left. But I think what really makes it, with the spirit of the times, is the people and the families. So I'm actually lucky to have my own sort of relatives from the time.
And their photographs.
Their photographs, yeah, which I love doing.
It's all very authentic in here, isn't it? Tell me a little bit about the sideboard there.
Yeah, the 30 sideboard is typical what you'd find in a home in those times. On the top there you've got the 30s wireless set and the Art Deco photo frame and the telephone. The sideboard was from my other 40s mate. He collects that sort of thing as well.
Have you started to get 40 friends now? And...
Yeah, there's a few of us nuts about. My dad call us aliens, but we've actually talked about when we get together, like it'd be so nice if we could buy a 40 street, have it completely set out with everyone, and have taking turns being the air warden patrol on the street checking.
So you're very close to therapy then, now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just on the edge of it. Yeah, my dad says we'll go back to our own planet one day. But...
Ben is also fond of ladies' pursuits, like washing up and doing the laundry. Careful, girls, he's after your jobs.
When I got the shed done, I thought, well, I woke up one morning and I thought, I've got all this modern stuff in my bedroom, I hate it. Modern wardrobe, modern bed, this has got to go. Why can't I have the 40s bedroom too? It's
and Mum loved that, did she?
Yeah, but they've drawn the line. I'm not ripping up the carpet and taking the modern radiator off though. No way. Yeah, I'm working on them. It's yeah, it's great.
You've also got an air raid shelter, haven't you?
Yeah, the icing on the cake really was getting the Anderson shelter. I used to pass one every day on my way to school on my bike, and one day I plucked up courage to find out who owned it, and the chap was quite happy to let me have it, so we took it apart, rusty bit by rusty bit, dragged it home and put it back together, and I love it now. It's it really makes the collection complete, I think. It's really quite eerie down there, especially at night in the dark.
The bombs are raining down. Don't you realise one of them has got our name on it?
I can't now, I can't.
How long have we been here? Ben.
Either of you two want a cup of tea?
Oh, Mum.
And at night, Ben likes nothing better than curling up in his 1940s bed and dreaming of his 1940s sweethearts, Vera Lynn, Anne Shelton, and of course, Jerry Halliwell.
Except, of course, Jerry Halliwell would have been a boy's name back in 1940. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's a bit intimidated by serious grown-up antiques. So it's great there are people like my next guest who can give us a masterclass in the time it takes to make a cup of tea. Today, dating ceramics with Cherry Nixon. Welcome to you, Cherry.
Thank you.
Is it possible to date all ceramics?
A lot of them, but you need to know how.
So what was the first system used?
Right, the first system was the Design Registry. Here we are, there's a piece here. And they... That's it.
Now, you put the little mark here.
They introduced this mark.
It's sort of diamond shape, isn't it?
Right. This mark means it was made after 1842. At the top there is the date letter. It's a V, and that means it was made after 1850 when this pattern was registered with the Design Registry.
Right, so you can actually get the specific year from that.
It was registered, the pattern was registered.
Yes.
Not necessarily the date that the piece was made.
Right, okay. So then you went all the way through the alphabet.
At the top of the diamond, that's right,
Yes.
for 26 years, of course.
Yes.
And then, of course, they'd run out of spaces, so they had to change the system a bit.
Let's have a look at this one.
there
You've
we
still
are.
got the diamond, but
Right.
there's now a letter over on this
They've
side.
moved the date letter to the right-hand side. So if you come across a piece like this with the date letter on the right-hand side, you know it was made after 1868 when the situations were moved round.
Okay, so there are other pieces here that I've had a little nose round, and they have actually not got letters on them, they've got numbers on them.
Right. Yes, here we are. Now, nothing else on this piece to help you, except it has, this is what is called a registration number, which means it began, it was after 1884. This system of registration numbers was introduced in 1884. At the very least, you know this was made after 1884. And by the level of the number, you can say approximately the date of the piece.
What's the significance of pieces that have England stamped on the
Right.
back, and then others have made in England? Why is there a difference there?
This is what the most significant mark, probably of all. This is an American law, the McKinley Tariff Act, passed in 1891. People who wanted to export to the States had to put their country of origin in. Now, this was a huge market, and a lot of people wanted to export there. So almost overnight, all our producers would put England on their wares.
Yes.
Well, what happened was they realised that some foreign producers were importing goods to England, marking them with the England mark, and re-exporting them.
Yeah.
And in order to stop this, they introduced a more precise mark, made in England.
And what date would that have been after then?
Well, it wasn't precise like the England mark,
Yes.
but this would be 20th century. They drifted over to using made in England,
Yes.
but at the very least, this will tell you that the piece was 20th century. So
Yes.
this chap here, there we are, nothing much on him, but you know that he's from the 20th century.
Yes. My grandma had one just like that. Now, over there, we've got some pieces
Right.
from the war.
Yes.
And they have a different set of marks on the bottom,
Yes.
don't they?
Now, there were 10 years where all the rules changed, and these were the war years between 1942 and
And this has
1952.
an A on it.
That
this
has
one.
an A, this has a B, and there's also a C.
Now, is that to do with factories?
No, this was to do with the price band. So this would tell you the maximum price that you could charge for that piece, because this was wartime and there was rationing. So that's been
Yes.
between 1942 and 1952. These pieces here, a few producers were allowed to decorate wares in the war,
Yeah.
and these were called fancies, and they were made between 1945 and 1952.
So as things were easing up slightly, I
That's
suppose.
right. And this CZ here, this was another wartime mark of later still.
Why is it important, do you think, to be able to date ceramics for you?
Well, if you go to an antique fair and you pick up a piece, it's nice to be able to get the context. Then you're more powerful in decisions about what to pay, but it's nice to know what was happening while that piece was made.
Yes, you get a real sense of its history, I suppose.
That's right,
Yes. Thank you so much, Cherry, for
A
that
pleasure.
lesson.
Thank
I'm
you
going to
very
go away
much.
and look now with much more care at all the
Yeah.
ceramics that I come across. Thank you. Now, if you were a child in the 70s, there's probably one television programme that you never missed. Even back then, you just knew it was ahead of its time. Sure enough, it's earned itself a bit of a cult following. Russell Labby went to meet its leading lady.
These guys were gunging on a Saturday long before Mr. Noel Edmonds. Tiswas was the show that broke all the rules and did all those fun things that kids weren't supposed to do. And they were loved for it. And amongst its huge following of fans, everybody was agreed Sally James was their favourite. Well, Sally, here you are, surrounded by a sea of Tiswas memorabilia.
Yes.
I mean, how do you feel about the fact that I suppose you'll always be associated with this mad programme, won't you?
Well, I will, but it was such a happy time of my life that I don't mind that. And it seems, in the last couple of years, it seems to be there's a whole resurgence of Tiswas interest again. It's really very strange. And I have got quite a lot of things, as you've said, but there's such a lot I haven't got, and I wish I'd just kept every single bit of memorabilia, because it's become such an interest in the programme, and we're very friendly with Chris Tarrant, and you know, I spoke to him the other day, and he still gets as many questions about Tiswas, even though he's now got the success of Millionaire.
Oh, you had the foresight to collect some bits and pieces from Tiswas.
My father was a stills photographer, so I think that always made me sort of think, well, I'll get a picture taken every week of me with whoever the star was, who I was interviewing, which I've kept, and it's just nice to sort of flick through them occasionally and just to remember, really.
Take us through a few of them.
Well, that's the one with David Essex looking very young and gorgeous there, as you can see. Oh, there's Barry Sheen. Now, he was great fun, and I remember him, he was virtually held together by metal when he was on the show. Well, that's Chris, of course, in that leather jacket. He's still got that. He's got quite a lot of Tiswas collection, and he's got it all in his home up north. But so we used to get silly things done, like Sally James to fight Muhammad Ali, and we used to get silly headlines and things put up. Oh, there's Toya. She was great fun. She was always wanted to come and roll around in custard. I don't know what that says about her, but that's what she did. There was a thing in Tiswas called Compost Corner. You're supposed to call out Compost Corner when I say that, by the way. So we'll try that again. There was an item in Tiswas called Compost Corner.
Compost Corner!
That's it. And in Compost Corner, Chris used to present Compost Corner, and in fact, there's a T-shirt here of Compost Corner, and you can see there's a picture of me as a flower, and Bob as a flower, and I think that's supposed to be John. And in Compost Corner, Rick would often Rick and Roger Daltrey would turn up, and they would stand in a bucket, and they'd be dressed in a pink leotard with sort of petals around their head, and they were the flowers, and you can imagine what Chris used to do, flowers in a pot forever, water over the head. I was Kevin Keegan with his perm. Look at Kevin. Now, he didn't mind getting a custard pie, but he was a bit concerned in case his curls were going to get ruined. That's Generation X, Billy Idol, you can see there. And there's me with a very dodgy-looking perm as well. Oh, look, that's...
Andrew Sachs.
Andrew Sachs. Oh, yeah, Manuel, Andrew Sachs. He's great. He was so sweet, such good fun. And the Pretenders, of course, good fun. They liked all the custard pies and guns.
Sorry about that. We've typed that completely wrong. Don't worry. Plenty of time to catch up.
There's Cliff. Now, Cliff was on the show quite a lot, but we weren't allowed to put a flan in his face.
Is that a Spit the Dog?
This is a Spit the Dog. In fact, I can probably make it work, but I won't do the spitting, because now I'm a mother, I'm anti-spitting.
And then, of course, we have the scarf, a little nice coloured scarf that you can just wrap round him.
Well, Sally, in all of those wonderful photographs of you in your Tiswas days, there's not one with you with a baseball cap on.
No, you're right.
And look at all this.
I know, I'm sort of... It's when you're younger and you sort of start travelling around, it's quite nice to think of something that you can collect. In fact, my children are going through this now. One of them collects key rings, the other one collects pens, and the little one hasn't decided what he's going to collect yet. So wherever I've gone, I've always bought a baseball cap, or if somebody's going somewhere unusual, I ask them to bring me one back. And so the collection has grown over the years, and people, when they know about my collection, sort of send me the odd one as well. So I have got quite a lot, as you can see. I don't often wear them, but I've got a lot.
Well, it's been lovely to meet you, Sally. Thank you for showing us your collection.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, Compost Corner. Wrong show. I'm delighted to say that we're going to be seeing much more of Sally on Collector's Lot as she's joining the show as one of the reporters. Now, after the break, find out about two very different sorts of holiday souvenir, Victorian shell boxes and airport postcards. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now to one of the most popular features on Collector's Lot. Our craft films build up to give a real insight into how works of art and future collectibles are created. In this series, there'll also be occasional films looking at some of the most exciting work that's happening all over the country. We start today with Tess Morley and her shell boxes.
I've always lived by the coast, so I used to collect shells then, really. So I've always been interested in collecting small things and keeping them in boxes and things like that. The first object I made using shells were the masks I first started doing, because I was quite interested in grottos, and they are quite sort of grotesque even. I make anything from very small trinket boxes to the large treasure chests. I've done obelisks of various different sizes, and I've done the Sailors' Valentines, and mirrors, of course, lots of mirror frames. My parents have always, they've collected old shell boxes and various other sort of shell-related things. So I think really probably my interest in making things with shells has originated from having seen their early shell box collection. I get my shells from various sources. Ones that I need to use quite often, then I do need a regular supply. So yeah, I find fish restaurants is a very good source of getting oyster shells and various other whelks and winkles and scallops. Well, I usually phone up, and particularly if I'm going to start a big mirror or something where I require lots of oyster shells or whelks or whatever it may be, and Jo very kindly will then start saving during the week. She very kindly puts them aside, and she sometimes puts them in the dishwasher for me, and then I go in and pick them up from her. I love shell boxes that are quite detailed, particularly with the treasure chest. My first thing is to line the inside of the box. I then start to sort of think of a pattern and the shells I've got and what colours would go well together. There's the gluing process, which takes quite a long time because obviously that takes, and I do the panels as well. I work in panels. I do the edges first. I do all the outline of the box first with the shells, and then I'll work in panels usually. The treasure chest is at least 3 weeks work solid, and it can take longer depending on the size, but I love the idea of getting the shape and then making it into something completely different by covering it with shells. The obelisks, I like the shape of them, and they're very decorative. They make a very nice decorative thing, and I just thought they'd look great with using shells really, and different coloured mussel dusts and coal dusts on the backgrounds. It's a bit like when you crush up biscuits if you were making a recipe for something. I put them in a bag, and I put them through a mangle at various different thicknesses, and then the powder I then sieve and grade into different gradients. I think the most exciting thing was learning to make shell flowers. The Victorians, when they particularly made shell grottos and did shell work, they did use a lime-based putty. So I have copied that in my shell work and used this lime-based putty, which is quite, because it's all natural-based, I think it's nicer to use that rather than a more modern sort of glue or something like that. I looked at Sailors' Valentines, which sailors used to bring over from Barbados back to England, and once I saw those I started to think, well, I can make my own. In a lot of the early ones, there are messages like sort of home again and to my sweetheart and with love, and they often have the message in the middle written in shells. So I thought I'd try and see if I could write one using words as well. Well, I think shells have you can get amazing colours from them really, and I'm always looking for new things and new ideas to put shells on.
What a delicate craft. Now, when most people go on holiday, they bring back duty-free or a kitsch souvenir for their friends and relatives. But if Liam Abramson hears of anyone jetting off to exotic shores, he has a more unusual request. Welcome, Liam.
Hi.
Come on then, what is it?
I always ask people to bring back a postcard of the airport they've just visited.
Why the airport?
Well, I used to work at Gatwick Airport. When I finished university, I did my graduate training at Gatwick Airport, and it just sort of grew from there.
Yes, well, Gatwick would have that effect on you, wouldn't it? You know, you'd want a postcard. Have you got one of Gatwick
I
here?
do, yes, it's right there.
Right there. So you actually bought this yourself?
I actually bought that. I was actually going to send it to somebody, but then I kept it for myself.
Too embarrassed.
And it sort of just grew from there.
Right, and so which were the, is there another one, that sort of early one?
Well, one of the very early ones
else?
is this one from which my parents sent me from my hometown in Johannesburg.
There.
And then I had two together, so I sort of
one for your collection,
exactly.
It says, yes.
So if I had two postcards, and I felt, well, I might as well buy a third, and now we're up to this.
You were suddenly held in the grip
Absolutely.
of airport card fever, and before you
Absolutely.
knew it, there were, how many have you got actually?
About 250, which isn't that many, but...
Right. Now, do you actually visit all these places?
I have visited some of them. Most of them have been sent to me by friends and family. A few I have bought from either a stamp exhibition or from junk shops. But the majority of the cards have come from friends and family, so I know almost everybody who's given me every single card.
There's one dotted around somewhere.
The Tokyo one there,
Is it this one? Yes, yes. And another one, as requested, an airport postcard to add to your collection. It's great because they know what to send you, see, all your
it saves them a lot of money.
Now, what about these old ones down here? I would guess these weren't ones that were actually posted to you.
No, these are ones that I found either, as I say, in junk shops or at exhibitions. They really in the early days of airport postcards from the 30s and the 40s. And what's quite interesting is that some of them have actually been written on as well. This one from Cincinnati was when the airport was completely flooded by 20 feet of water, and someone's actually written on the back, completely flooded.
It would look very different now.
Yes, exactly.
Now, having said that, of course, airports do change the way they look. Which are the airports that have been very good at sort of documenting that change with their postcards?
Well, this series from Chicago, O'Hare Airport, I've actually got 4 from almost one from each decade, which shows how the airport has developed. And in this really early one, you can see the central building being built, and in this one is actually completed, and onwards into the 90s.
Yes. Which are the airports that are very bad at documenting themselves?
Well, some airports are very good, some airports are very, very bad. I mean, Frankfurt, all of these are from Frankfurt.
They are so proud of themselves,
it's just
aren't they?
amazing how many they've brought out,
Yes.
and Los Angeles have brought out a lot, and so on. In the sort of inner ring here, you can see a lot from Zurich, and yet just next door, I can't seem to find a single one from Geneva, which seems a bit odd.
That's a bit of a drawback, isn't it?
It is.
Have you been and looked?
I've been to Geneva, I've looked, they haven't had any, so I'll have to settle with Zurich.
Which is your favourite card? Do you have a favourite?
I think this one from Telluride in Colorado, which is meant to be the highest airport in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, the runway sitting on top of the mountain there. And some of the aerial ones of Hong Kong, and most of these are built on reclaimed land. So there's Hong Kong there, Kansai, and Japan.
Finally, which do you think are the naffest of all?
Well, I think to win the award for the most boring airport postcard has to go to Montreal, which are these 2 early ones.
Blame Canada.
Absolutely, with the wonderful empty baggage carousel, what's more, and the fantastic cantilever staircase. So
Yeah, but you know, there's a kind of retro style there, which we like on this programme.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Liam,
My
for showing
pleasure.
these to us. They are very fascinating.
Thank you very much.
Now, if you think you've got a more unusual collection than Liam's, we'd love to see it on the programme. Write to me at Collector's Lot, P.O. Box 17, Plimpton, Devon, PL 75YG. And send me a few photos of your collection too, if you can. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Now, with racing tomorrow on 4, Sarah returns with Collector's Lot on Wednesday at 3. Next today, summertime and the living is easy in a splendid old French chateau, a most magnificent place in the sun on the way.